2020 was the year Hasbro released the very first Spider-Man retro wave. After 4 years, which of the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Spider-Man Retro Wave 1 action figures are the most valuable and sought after? Today, I am doing a Marvel Legends top 10 action figures from the very popular Spider-Man Retro Wave. I will rank them from 10 to 1, taking in consideration their current selling average price as per actionfigure411.com, link in the description below. I do not have all the figures. However, there is one figure worth mentioning since its value tripled its retail price. Please watch this completely to find out which figure is the best and the most valuable Hasbro Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Wave 1. eBay is the data source of Action Figure 411. I will compute the potential profit of selling a brand new sealed figure in eBay. The fees in eBay is a hefty one, an approximate fee of 14.5%, which should cover eBay's selling fee, GST, and 1% international fee. The assumption here is the seller got the figure for its RRP. The eBay selling fee computation takes in consideration the shipping fee, and according to USPS, their current flat rate is 30.90. If sold locally in the US, let's assume a plus $5 profit. Starting off at number 10, we have the retro Peter Parker. This is Peter Parker wearing a brown jacket, a light blue type of shirt inside, and a blue jeans and a white shoes. And the shoes are well detailed with the shoelaces, and he comes with this accessory which is a old school camera. The eyeglasses are removable, but one thing that bothers me is the eyes here. It doesn't look right for Peter Parker. It's like emotionless compared to the alternate head, which is better, which is half mask, half surprise Peter Parker. It does lack several accessories to make it stand out. Probably an effect piece like this from Slide Effects, which is a spider sense, would make it look better. In the last 12 sold auctions of Peter Parker, the average was 30.37 USD. That will give the seller, minus the eBay fee, a very small $1.50 profit. It did better in terms of the buy it now, wherein the price was $38.52. Less the eBay fees, the profit would be 8.46. The highest price this figure sold for was $60 when it was first released in June 2020. The most recent high price for this figure was last year, March 2023, for $48. Last month, February 2024, it was last sold for $32. Coming at number 9, we have Spider-Man 2099. The good thing about this figure is it came with 3 alternate pairs of hands. One with this that you can see here with claws. He also comes with this webbing which you can attach to his back. The body mold used by Hasbro for this one is a bit outdated. It doesn't have a great range of crunching forward and back. Also, there are pins as you can see even on the red painted spots. The problem as well is the shape of its feet, which I do not like. For Spider-Man 2099, in the last 23 auctions, the figure sold 42.91 in average. The profit for this one would be 9.22 US dollars. In terms of buy it now price, it sold for $48.96, and the profit for this one would be 14.39. Similar to Peter Parker, the auction profit is less than the buy it now profit. In terms of the highest price this figure was sold, it was $47 in July 2021. In the most recent month, February 2024, it sold for $37. At number 8, we have another fan channel like Spiderman 2099. Here we have Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. There is not much accessories for this particular figure, but it does represent how Black Cat looks like in the animated series. She does not come with any alternate hands, but one of her hands can hold on to her only weapon, which is a whip. The body is exactly the same as the retro rogue body mold, which is the Moonstone body mold. The best 90s shape female body mold, which is already discontinued. For Black Cat, in the last 18 auctions, it sold for $40. That gives you a profit of $7.80. In average buy it now price, it performed better with $46.21. This gives you a profit of $13. Still, the value of the figure did not double. It was at retail price $22. The highest it sold was on February 2024 at $43. I forgot to mention she came with a pet accessory. We have here the alien cat from Captain Marvel the movie painted black. Tied at number 8 is J. Jonah Jameson. Unfortunately, I do not have this figure in my collection. Average sold auction price was 40.39 and this gives you a profit of $5. For buy it now price, the average is better at 49.22 and you get a profit of $12.61. At number 7, we have Gwen Stacy with her comic book accurate attire from the story The Night Gwen Stacy Died in the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man number 121 to 122. She comes with several accessories, the binder, the newspaper. She wears a purple skirt. The boots are not sculpted on. There are sculpted details on the fabric of what she is wearing though. A cool accessory she came with is the alternate head of MJ. I do hope in the future Hasbro will release a separate MJ figure, probably in her attire in the Amazing Spider-Man number 42 or this particular cover done by J. Scott Campbell. In the last 13 auctions, Gwen sold for 41.99 USD. That gives you a good profit of $11.43. Notice how the pie of the eBay fee and the profit is almost of the same size. In terms of the average buy it now price, it is better at 47.74. This gives you a profit of 17.18 USD, finally close to doubling the RR fee, beating the eBay price by a lot. The first time the figure was released, it went up to as high as $36 in June 2020. It then went up again on February 2023 at $45. And finally, in the last month, February 2024, it sold for a high value of $40. Tied with Gwen at number 7 is the Armored Daredevil. This figure sells well via auction at 41.63 USD, but terrible in the buy it now price of 32.17, which just gives you a small profit of $3. At number 6, we have Mysterio. The nice thing about this figure is the sculpted details on his green body. You can see the sculpted lines and some dark wash, making it feel like he has cel shading on his torso. He comes with this pair of smoke pieces, translucent, somewhat blue-green. The downside of this figure is the plastic cape, which limits articulation and is a bit heavy. The fishbowl is attached to the cape, so when you remove the cape, you remove the fishbowl along with it. And you can see the translucent head sculpt. Compared to other fan channel exclusive, the retail price for this figure was $29.99 USD. In the last 20 auctions, he sold for $54.14. This gives you a profit of $11.82, which is the reason why figures are sold doubled their price in eBay, so you get a decent profit. The average buy it now price is 64.74. This gives you a good profit of $23.45. Still not doubled its retail price, but it's good enough. First released in August 2020, it got a high price of $40. It went up to $63 on December 2023, and recently, February 2024, it sold for an average of $54. At number 5, we have another fan channel exclusive. We have Sandman. Not as big as the Vilda figure, this Sandman has a lot of accessories, which includes this spiky ball and this enlarged hand. The lower torso or the pants is reused, but overall, in terms of accessories, this figure is value for money. It came with this head wherein there's a hole wherein Spider-Man can punch in. In terms of retail price, this fan channel went out for $22.99. In the last 11 sold auctions, it got an average of $55.63. This gives you a profit of $20. For the average buy it now price, it is $61.11. This gives you a profit of $24.78. Finally, getting double the retail recommended price. For a seller, this is like punching a hole in eBay's head because you get a good profit despite of the high eBay fees. At number 4, here we have the Marvel GOAT, the greatest of all time. We have Spider-Man. Unfortunately, it felt like he was dethroned from the number 1 spot because a year or 2 years from its release date, I remember this figure going like over hundreds of dollars in eBay. Prior to June 2022, this Spider-Man was the best Marvel Legends Spider-Man, the best articulated and comic book accurate. The only problem I have with this figure is the pins, because you can see the red pins on his arms, which would show up on the other side in the blue side. Also, the spider lines here are not sculpted on. Over the years, I've used this figure to pose for action figure photography, and you can see the lines are getting erased, the black lines. Nowadays, the Spider Man No Way Home action figures have sculpted lines, which is an upgrade compared to this one wherein it's all painted lines. In the last 14 auctions, Spider Man sold for $50. This gives you a profit of $19. For the average buy it now price, the average was $55.74, which is a little bit higher compared to the auction, and this gives you a profit of $23.19. The reason for the big decline in terms of price for this figure is because of the release of the Renew Your Vow Spider-Man and Spinneret 2-pack in June 2022. The Spider-Man in that 2-pack is the upgraded version with pinless double-jointed elbows and knees, has an articulated toe, and has several accessories compared to this Spider-Man which only came with an alternate masked head, web whipping hands, and closed fist hands. Other Spider-Man Retro Wave 1 slash fan channel figures not included in this list is the Target US exclusive Cyborg Spider-Man, which had an average selling price of $32.99, the Spider-Man Negative Zone, which fails to grow in terms of value as it was sold with an average of $23.79. Another one is the fan channel Webman, $28.90. The intro, I mentioned an outstanding figure which tripled its value. It is the PulseCon exclusive Venom with cell shading. This figure went up to $90. We are now at the top 3. At number 3, we have the Electro. You can see here the bright cartoon-like colors of yellow and green. He comes with this cool hand with electrified fingers, translucent yellow, Everything is painted on, nothing is sculpted in terms of the design of his costume, but he does come with this cool head sculpt. In the last 24 auctions, Electro sold for $58. This gives you a profit of $25.14. In terms of the average buy it now price, he was sold for $34.24. This gives you a very low profit of $4.80. So it is better to sell Electro via auction. First released in June 2020, the figure sold for an average of $51. In the recent month, February 2024, this figure got sold for $59. At number 2, we have the Green Goblin. This comes to a surprise to me because at first, when this figure was revealed, it got a lot of negative feedback and they were not happy with the head sculpt. But now, looking at this figure, you can see how well designed this figure is with the sculpted scales on his arms and legs, which is missing in the new Green Goblin. He has this unmasked head sculpt of Norman Osborn. It is a good value for money action figure. In the last 16 auctions, Green Goblin sold for a high value of $75. This gives the seller a profit minus eBay fees of $39.73. In terms of the average buy it now price, it's a little bit lower by $10 at $65.06. This gives the seller a profit minus eBay fees $31.16. In June 2020, the first release of this figure, it got a high average of $66. In January 2023, it went to as high as of an average of $100. Then in the recent month of February 2024, this figure had an average price of $75. He is the most profitable and valuable action figure out of the Spider-Man Retro Wave 1, not including the deluxe figures from Wave 1. At number 1, we have the King. Coming on top of all the Spider-Man Retro Wave 1 action figures, we have Kingpin. The nice thing about this figure is the updated paint on his costume. This is more comic book accurate. It is not actually how he looked like in the animated series. This is comic book accurate colors of orange, the blue piece on his neck. He comes with a alternate head wherein it is beaten up with some scratches. This figure is actually just a repaint of the old build a figure, which is also valuable at the moment. Just putting this figure side by side with the build a figure, here we can see the difference in terms of the paint. Of course, this build a figure I have here is with the Shadow King head. The color of the accessory is different as well, wherein the retro has a much more bright brown color compared to that of the build a figure. First released in August 2020, the recommended retail price for this deluxe action figure was $29.99. In the last 7 auctions, Kingpin sold for $100.63. The profit for this would be $51.56. In terms of the average buy it now price, Kingpin went for $103.12. The buy it now price profit would be $53.69. The highest this figure went when it was first released was $42, and in the recent month, this figure sold for $101 in Feb 2024. So there you have it, the top 10 Hasbro Marvel Legends action figures from the Retro Spider-Man wave from 2020. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the list. Is there any action figure that surprised you, especially when it comes to the price and the profit? As mentioned a while ago, the reason the price doubles on eBay is the high eBay fee. If the seller sells it at the recommended retail price, the profit is likely not worth it, or sometimes it may result to a loss due to taxes. It takes time, effort, and petrol to acquire an item. Selling it without a profit does not make sense. In the profit computation, I assume that it was an international sale because local buyers usually purchase from a large retail shop selling these figures at RRP. eBay's high fee is to instill buyer confidence. Think of it as insurance, money back guaranteed if something goes wrong. It is only fitting that the buyer pays for the eBay fee. Those who sell via FB groups or Facebook groups are encouraged to use PayPal goods and services. The seller does not shoulder the fee, they pass it on to the buyer. Of course, it is lower at 3% compared to almost 15% of eBay. However, eBay is the most secured method of purchasing an item. It can be a pain dealing with PayPal if something goes wrong. I promote my website because it is hard to make a profit if I try to sell on eBay. Thanks to our loyal customers who kept our small business alive for over 4 years. Based on my observation, the items being sold at a high price in eBay is not meant to target local buyers. It is actually for international buyers. And since they are international buyers, they need some security, and eBay provides that. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and ring the notification bell.